Amalgam Comics was quite the fan service in the late 90s when the two publishing giants, Marvel and DC, came together to create the biggest crossover event ever. New superheroes were created as awesome popular characters were merged, each with a unique backstory and origin. Now, in this video, we'll explore this super amazing crossover giant. Oh, and for a comprehensive overview of the Amalgam universe, we'll first look at Marvel Comics vs. DC issue number 3, and then get into the 24 one-shots. Let's dive right into it, shall we? In the beginning, Jubilation Lee, aka Jubilee, is in a forest writing in a diary. She writes about how everything is absurd, and it seems like the world is coming to an end. It all started when the two universes, quite obviously the Marvel and the DC universes, started merging with buildings and people crossing over from one to the other. While the heroes scrambled to contain the chaos, even big deal brains like Emma Frost and Charles Xavier couldn't figure out what was going on. She continues to reveal the existence of the two brothers, embodiments of the Marvel and DC universes who pit their heroes against each other for the survival of their respective universes. One of the chosen champions is Jubilee, who, upon her summoning, must fight not only for her survival, but also for that of her universe. She recounts the battles that have already been completed. Thor from the Marvel universe defeated Captain Marvel from the DC universe. However, Namor lost to Aquaman, and Quicksilver couldn't outrun the Flash. Currently, Jubilee's universe is losing 2-1. She also comments on the reaction of the ordinary people to this battle, treating it like a sports competition and placing bets on the competitors. She thinks that people find this easier than contemplating the actual consequences of the battle. Jubilee then reveals her love interest Robin from the DC universe, who she has to fight against. Right then, Robin enters, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. He tells her he was looking all over for her and is surprised at the size of the fully interactive biospheres. Robin asks Jubilee to accompany him for a walk as he's tired of sitting around and waiting to be summoned. Jubilee tells him she was writing in her diary and wants to finish updating it as she might miss the chance to do so later. She writes about how she has to put on her brave face and famous attitude. Otherwise, people just might understand how scared she really is. She also hopes that this isn't her last entry in her diary as she gets up and holds hands with Robin. The duo are then summoned. Finding themselves in a balloon factory, Jubilee comments on the spookiness of the place. Before they start the battle, Robin wishes her luck as Jubilee kisses him. They begin fighting as Jubilee shoots her firecrackers at him. She feels the fight is unfair as Robin doesn't have any superpowers, and all he can do is dodge her firecrackers. He says he doesn't need them as he hides from her. She notices his cape and turns to attack, but is blindsided by Robin, who uses a lasso to tie her up. Jubilee expresses frustration over losing to someone who didn't even hit her, as Robin asks her whether the rope around her is too tight. He tells her he never intended to hit her, and Jubilee finds the sentiment sweet. She asks Robin whether he's planning on untying her. He smiles, and we're left wondering who actually won the round. In deep space, the Silver Surfer and Green Lantern are battling it out. Silver Surfer comments on how the two superheroes had previously worked together to preserve their universes, but are now having to fight one another to save at least one of the two worlds. He says the brothers are the most powerful cosmic entities he's ever encountered, even more powerful than his former master, Galactus. As they fight it out, Green Lantern uses his powers to manifest a number of objects to help him defeat the Silver Surfer. Finally, he manifests full body armor, a likeness of Stead, and a lance with a shield, and attacks Silver Surfer. The two collide as they charge at each other, and Silver Surfer emerges victorious. He, however, regrets this win. In Gotham, Catwoman is fighting Elektra. As Catwoman draws first blood, she tries to understand why she was chosen as a champion because she isn't generally regarded as a hero. And judging by Elektra's size, she doesn't seem to be much of a hero either. She prefers whips for their multiple uses as she tries to stop Elektra. Elektra uses Catwoman's own whips against her, and Catwoman is left dangling while holding onto the other end of the whip that Elektra is holding up. Elektra informs her that she's an assassin and happily kills her opponents, but chooses not to kill Catwoman because their combat wasn't a choice, and she won't kill just to please the entities who forced them to fight. She does, however, choose to win as she cuts the whip, and Catwoman falls down onto a truck full of sand. In Metropolis, Peter Parker congratulates Lois Lane on yet another great story. The first page headline reads, "All tied up. Champions deadlocked. 3-3. She thanks Peter and tells him she wouldn't have been able to finish the article if he hadn't saved her from the scarecrows. He replies that it's just one of his services as your friendly neighborhood photojournalist. He works up the courage to ask Lois out on a movie and dinner date to provide some relief from the chaos all around. Lois says she's flattered but also flashes her engagement ring, giving Clark Kent the perfect moment to appear behind Peter. Peter quips that Clark can squish him like a bug, apologizes, and leaves out of embarrassment. On his way out, Peter's spidey sense starts tingling, and J. Jonah Jameson bursts into the room, announcing Hulk and Metallo are engaged in battle downtown. and he wants Clark and Lane on the case. He asks Lois where Kent is, and Lois assures him that he's already on the case. As Kent suits up in his iconic blue and red in a dark alley, Axel Asher and his mentor are talking. Axel just found out something big. He's supposed to be a part of both universes. He realizes that's why he's been wandering all his life. But Axel doesn't buy it. He insists he's just a regular person, and his mentor is just a crazy homeless guy. To prove his point, Axel's mentor grabs Axel's arm and suddenly there's a strange light. Axel transforms into Access for the first time, though he's totally confused. His mentor explains that Axel is the keeper of the door between the two universes, a job that's been passed down. It's now Axel's turn to be the Access and keep the balance between the two universes. Axel admits he needs to figure out how he's supposed to do it. Far away, Wolverine takes on Lobo. Lobo brandishes a chain with a hook end. With a swift maneuver, Lobo drives the hook into Wolverine's chest, inflicting what appears to be a fatal wound. Wolverine pretends he's in pain as he cries out and goes on to casually remove the bloody hook. The wound heals miraculously as Logan boasts about his healing factor. Wolverine then brandishes his bone claws, engaging Lobo. Their brawl takes them crashing behind a nearby bar, disappearing from the view of onlookers. Amidst exchanged threats, the sounds of their intense struggle gradually fade into silence. After a pause, Wolverine emerges, triumphantly seizing a lit cigar from an ashtray. With a victorious air, he smokes the cigar, signaling his apparent victory. Lobo's fate, much like his physical body, remains a mystery. Outside Fawcett City, Wonder Woman, wielding Mjolnir, has transformed into a female iteration of Thor. This moment of feeling like an invincible god, however, is challenged by Storm, undaunted by Wonder Woman's transformed state. Calmly, Storm asserts her divine status, gifted with the ability to control the forces of nature. Wonder Woman points out the apparent futility of Storm's challenge, emphasizing her advantage while wielding Mjolnir. Yet, Storm remains resolute, showing no signs of backing down. In a moment of reflection, Wonder Woman realizes that it wouldn't be a fair fight if she continued wielding the hammer. Acknowledging the unfair advantage it grants her, she throws the hammer. Wonder Woman and Storm clash in a fierce exchange of blows. Storm channels her formidable weather powers, conjuring a raging gale and a deluge of rain in an attempt to overwhelm her opponent. However, Wonder Woman displays immense physical strength and seizes Storm by the ankle and lands a devastating kick to the back of Storm's head. Storm retaliates by unleashing a barrage of lightning upon Diana. Despite her resilience, Diana struggles to withstand the searing pain, eventually losing consciousness. As Diana falls, Storm catches her, cradling her in her arms. Storm wins. In Greenwich Village, Spider-Man, aka Ben Reilly, is fighting Superboy. A shot of web fluid shatters Superboy's glasses as he's more determined to win. Although Spider-Man initially manages to evade Superboy's attacks, Superboy unleashes his unique power of tactile telekinesis, causing the water tower beneath Spider-Man to crumble, sending torrents of water cascading toward him. Caught off guard by this unexpected ability, Spider-Man struggles but still manages to evade the water. Ben Reilly inquires about Superboy's background, jokingly suggesting he might be Superman's younger sibling or a distant relative. Superboy reveals himself as a clone of Superman, catching the web-slinger off guard. Seizing the opportunity, Superboy lunges at Spidey but is swiftly met with two forceful kicks to the face. As Superboy vanishes from sight, Ben remains vigilant, scanning his surroundings for any sign of him. Suddenly, Connor emerges from the water directly beneath Spider-Man, throwing him off balance. Superboy hurtles toward him with remarkable speed. Reacting, Marvel's Spider-Man hits his opponent with various webbing, sending Superboy crashing into a high-voltage electrical box. Superboy is left unconscious as Spider-Man emerges victorious. In Metropolis, the Hulk throws a towering statue of Superman at Metallo, sending the metallic villain reeling. Just as the confrontation reaches its peak, the real Superman arrives on the scene, prompting a brief but respectful introduction between the two heroes. The Hulk expresses a preference for being addressed as Dr. Banner, or simply Bruce. However, their conversation is abruptly interrupted as the two are summoned. The heroes rematerialize in the deserted Grand Canyon. The confrontation resumes, with Bruce attacking first, delivering a thunderous blow that sends Superman hurtling into a rock formation. Superman hits Hulk with his heat vision, causing discomfort to the Hulk but failing to incapacitate him. As the battle intensifies, Superman realizes the gravity of the situation, recognizing that the safety of his world, his universe, and his beloved Lois hangs in the balance. Summoning his resolve, he unleashes his most potent attack, sending the Hulk soaring through the air. The impact shatters the canyon wall, burying the Hulk beneath a heap of rubble and rendering him unconscious. Surveying the aftermath, Superman reflects on the immense effort required to subdue the Hulk. With the battle concluded, Superman awaits the outcome of the conflict between the universes, aware that the fate of countless lives hangs in the balance. In the heart of Manhattan, Captain America is fighting Batman. Cap is frustrated as Batman seamlessly melts into the shadows, launching surprise attacks with uncanny precision. Despite his keen senses, Cap struggles to locate his elusive opponent, acknowledging Batman as a worthy adversary, better even than his past enemies like Hydra, Baron Zemo, and the Red Skull. The battle rages on, and neither combatant gains a decisive advantage. Pausing to catch his breath, Batman remarks on the hours they've spent fighting, foreseeing a battle that could stretch for days until one of them succumbs to exhaustion. Recognizing the dire stakes, Batman proposes a temporary truce, suggesting they join forces to thwart the brothers' plans of annihilating either universe. Cap recounts his unwavering commitment to safeguarding his world since the 1940s, driven by a desire to protect it from threats. Batman echoes Cap's dedication to protecting the innocent and reflects that he, too, is driven by a similar sense of duty. Their clash leads them into the labyrinthine sewers beneath Manhattan, where a sudden deluge threatens to engulf them. Amidst the chaos, both heroes hurl projectile weapons at each other. A rare misstep from Cap results in his shield missing its mark, while a precisely aimed batarang finds its target, leaving Cap dazed and vulnerable. As the rising waters engulf them both, Batman rescues the drowning Cap from the murky waters. Emerging from the sewers, the two erstwhile foes share a moment where they check in with each other. Despite his recovery, Cap grapples with a sense of defeat, haunted by the fear that his loss may have sealed the fate of his universe. Their journey takes a fateful turn as they stumble upon Access and his enigmatic mentor in the alley, drawn by the enigmatic glow of the Bucks. Recognizing the potential in uniting heroes from both universes, Access bestows upon them a radiant touch that destroys the Bucks. Simultaneously, the brothers undergo a profound transformation, merging into a singular entity. The two universes converge into a new reality, Earth 9602. Let's give a warm welcome to our new heroes: Amazon, Dark Claw, Deadeye, Dr. Doomsday, Dr. Strangefate, Lethal, Night Creeper, Spider-Boy, Super Soldier, and Wraith. Cooking up a storm. In the middle of the ocean, mutant and Amazonian princess Aurora finds herself up against the Greek god of the sea, Poseidon. Known throughout the world as Wonder Woman, no storm or natural calamity has ever scared her. That is up until now. Even while riding a gentle breeze over a calm sky and ocean, she knew this stillness was just an illusion. She also realized that this meant the day would end in violence and tragedy. However, what she didn't know was that something life-changing from her secretive past would also be revealed. Looks like Aurora, even in this amalgamated universe, is incomplete without lightning bolts as she tries to complete the thunderstorm that suddenly struck. As she navigates the storm, Wonder Woman realizes that this isn't just a normal hurricane, but one that's been manipulated by the vengeful god. The ferocity of the storm knocks her into the water as she struggles to stay afloat. Fear takes over her, and she's reminded of the moment that led to this. Before her mind's eye floats a vision of Poseidon taunting and reminding her that while she possesses great power, equivalent to some of the gods on Olympus, he has complete control over the ocean. Aurora, in turn, reminds Poseidon that along with being powerful, she's also an Amazon and doesn't want to admit defeat until death. She defeats the god of sea, who accepts his mistake of underestimating her and promises never to repeat it. Aurora, still drowning, recalls the numerous times she's had close calls with death since she became Wonder Woman, and the innumerable times she's defied the gods that were responsible for the creation of her race, the Amazons. Never before has she felt so helpless as she's crippled by her most primitive fear of drowning. Her mind flashes way back to the origin of this fear, the water filling her lungs as she descends into the cold darkness right before she's saved. She's pulled back into the present as she's also hurled out of the water and finds herself in the throne room of the Sea God. Meanwhile, in Louisiana, Angelica and her mother are concerned about Aurora owing to the psychic flashes Angelica's been having. She enters Aurora's apartment only to find it empty, but hears rustling in the bedroom. She opens the door to find Diana, who collapses after weakly seeking help. Back at Poseidon's throne room, Aurora wonders what the sea god's intentions are, as he could have just left her to drown. She chances upon a gold figurine that looks familiar to one her father brought from an expedition in the Mediterranean Sea. Aurora is then confronted by Poseidon, who calls her a thief and accuses her of devaluing treasure like all mortals. She stands up and demands answers from the god of the sea. Poseidon silences her, telling her that she was immediately drawn to the gold figurine in his collection, which proves that it wasn't a coincidence that she was on the same ship with her parents and the crew when his anger caused the ship to wreck. Aurora remembers the day it was revealed to her that she wasn't a true Amazon. She was saved from drowning by the Queen of Themyscira and brought into the kingdom to recoup. She was the only survivor of the shipwreck, and her only identification was her bracelet, which had Aurora engraved on it. Poseidon reveals why he caused the shipwreck. More than 25 years ago, Professor Malcolm, Aurora's father, had taken one part of the golden pair of statues, angering Poseidon. As a result, he was cursed and suffered a string of bad luck. When he made the decision to bring the statue back, Poseidon struck and wrecked the ship. Aurora, in disbelief, points out Poseidon's foolishness, inviting more wrath from the sea god, who decides to kill her slowly and painfully. Struggling with the bonds tightening around her, Aurora points out that Poseidon is the one who doesn't understand Malcolm's intentions. While Poseidon and his brothers were once revered, as human beings progressed, they turned away from the Greek gods who once controlled the forces of life and death. Mortals found new gods and new sources of knowledge and eventually turned away completely from the Greek gods. The only remaining vestiges of their existence are now found in historical museums and ancient school. However, when the only human, being Malcolm, tried to make Poseidon relevant again, the god of the sea killed him and all hope of relevance with him. Aurora points out that while the Amazons still worship the Olympus gods, humankind has moved on. Poseidon realizes his mistake and lets her go, telling her she was successful in enlightening him, and Aurora flies away, contemplating that this enlightenment may bring some peace to the victims of the shipwreck. Cat's got Fisk's tongue. Slade Murdoch, aka Dare the Terminator, a clear amalgamation of Marvel's Daredevil and DC's Deathstroke the Terminator and Ravager, teams up with Elektra Kyle, aka Cat's Eye. Elektra and Catwoman combined to take down Enigma Fisk, aka Big Question or Big Q, an amalgamation of Riddler and Kingpin, the mayor of New Gotham City. They've murdered Deadeye. Bullseye and Deathstroke combined and make their way up Arkham Tower to get to Fisk. They fight and defeat 12 of Fisk's mercenaries and face the 13th, Lethal, an amalgamation of Kraven the Hunter and Cheetah. He throws 4 blades at Dare, who uses her internal radar to catch them in her hands and throws them back at him. Cat's Eye is assisted by her cats, who run to Lethal's feet and trip him. Having had enough, Lethal takes out his shotgun and indiscriminately starts firing. Cat's Eye gracefully dodges the bullets, takes out her twin-blade-tipped whip and cracks it at Lethal, tying up his hands. Lethal is helplessly reeled in as Dare delivers the death strike. Meanwhile, Fisk is watching the news broadcast by Jimmy Urich. Urich criticizes the mayor for being a convicted felon, and rumor has it that Fisk is being controlled by the mysterious Dr. Strangefate, who's pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Angered by this, Fisk breaks the television screen. That's such a Wilson Fisk thing to do, and cuts his hand on the broken glass. Back at the lower floors of the tower, Cat's Eye and Dare face Arkham's worst. It's revealed that the inmates of Arkham Asylum were never sent to a new location, but were allowed to stay back in the tower because, well, apparently it was politically correct to let the psychologically different interact normally within society. Although Arkham's inmates are bloodthirsty sociopaths, they don't stand a chance against the 2 deadly women. As the duo continue their way up, Cat's Eye asks Dare whether she has any personal vendetta against Big Q. A flashback reveals Dare was experimented on by Big Q, who fits her head with devil horns to make her look like a daredevil. Dare assures Cat's Eye it's not personal, as they don't even know who hired them and that this is just another job for her. They're then confronted by Wired, an amalgamation of Strife and Manhunter, who cuts off the elevator cable Cat's Eye and Dare were using to climb up. He comments that in their line of work, there's no such thing as just a job. If one's not into it, they don't get the most out of it. Cat's Eye expresses her frustration at dealing with Fisk's toy soldiers and kills Wired, using his corpse to throw open a wide metal door. The final boss fight begins. Fisk, ever the gentleman, compliments the ladies on their appearance, notwithstanding their latest scars and wounds. After Cat's Eye points out his cheery mood even though he's going to die, he reveals that he was the mysterious person who hired them, shocking Cat's Eye and Dare. It turns out that this was his plan all along to revive his reputation and prove that he was not a puppet in the hands of Dr. Strangefate. He's also spread rumors that Cat's Eye and Dare were brainwashed by Dr. Strangefate to kill Fisk, and the dead mercenaries simply cemented their reputation as formidable fighters. Fisk also explains how both winning and losing would be beneficial to him. If he wins, his reputation is restored as New Gotham's powerful mayor. If he loses, he'll go down fighting and not be regarded as some magician stooge. Hearing this, an enraged Dare carelessly charges at Fisk, not realizing she's falling into a trap. Fisk effortlessly blocks all her attacks and discards her weapons. Finally, he takes her head in his hand. I misspoke earlier. This is the most Wilson Fisk thing to do, and rips off the horns he fitted her with, leaving Dare to bleed out. When he turns to deal with Cat's Eye, he hears a cat meow and realizes one of Cat's Eye's cats snuck into his office to plant explosives and escape through an open vent. Realizing he doesn't have time to detonate the explosives, Fisk states he hates cats. Apart from damaging his clothes, Fisk seems unharmed by the explosion and is still standing as he confronts Cat's Eye. Cat's Eye taunts him, making him angry as the two begin fighting. Cat's Eye emerges victorious, owing to the cunning and ferocity traits she's learned from alleyway cats. She avenges her good friend, the Dare, and leaves Fisk bleeding on the floor. She decides that death would be making it easy for him, and chooses to let him live and suffer. Afterward, Yorick gets an anonymous tip about an exclusive on the Mare. He reaches Arkham Tower on his helicopter and sees Fisk hanging upside down, still bleeding. Yorick decides to click pictures and sell them to J. Jonah White at the Daily Bugle. The following morning, Cat's Eye reads the paper and comments on how Fisk doesn't even have a reputation to save now. He's no more than a laughingstock, and while that isn't enough for what he did, it'll have to do while she comes up with more creative tortures. Followed by a cat's, she's ready to move on to her new job. The truth about the universe. Access is running through a sewer, away from someone. Thinking he's shaken off his mysterious pursuer, he stops to take a breath. Just as he does this, the creature emerges from the sewer water, identifying itself as Abominite, and gets ready to kill Access. At the last moment, Access teleports himself to safety. He wonders how his teleportation works. In his sanctorum, Dr. Strangefate dons his cape, Dr. Strange's cloak of levitation, and helmet. He asks his servant Mix to summon the 3 chosen agents. The 3, Skulk, an amalgam of Bruce Banner and Solomon Grundy, Jade Nova, Green Lantern and Nova, and the White Witch, an amalgamation of Zatanna and Scarlet Witch, mystically materialize. Strangefate then gives them their mission: track down and capture Access, who poses a great danger to their world even though his powers are unknown. Jade Nova thinks this is a one-man or rather one-woman mission and proclaims that she can capture Access on her own. The White Witch agrees, although she considers herself most suitable for this mission. Strangefate also claims that Access is more dangerous than their previous enemies, Mephis Saturnus and Baron Wotan. Skulk asks Strangefate whether Access will be imprisoned in Arkham, to which Strangefate replies that his punishment will be much worse, as he threatens the very fabric of their reality. After receiving more resistance from Jade Nova, who wants to go solo on the mission, Strangefate threatens to replace her. Jade Nova complies, and Mix teleports them away again, mystically. White Witch reassures the Doctor they'll complete the mission and bring Access to him. After they're alone, Mix asks Strangefate why he doesn't personally pursue and capture Access if he's such a dire threat. Strangefate points out that he doesn't expect the trio to succeed in the mission, but his pawns will help determine Access's strengths and weaknesses. Consequently, the Doctor will be prepared to confront Access personally. An agitated Access makes his way through the alleys of New Gotham, complaining that cosmic beings and combined universes are too much for him to handle. Just then, Skulk approaches from the shadows and offers to help Access. He grabs one of the younger man's arms, trying to get him to come quietly. Access, both scared and annoyed, tells Skulk to stay away. Skulk then transforms into a grey monster and attacks. Access runs from him and stumbles into Jade Nova. She uses her ring to transform into a being covered in green flames. Skulk catches up with Access, and Jade Nova uses her powers to bind him to energy chains. Access teleports himself out of the chains again and escapes. His freedom is short-lived as he runs into White Witch and loses consciousness as she plants a kiss on him after knocking him to the ground. White Witch delivers Access to Dr. Strangefate at his tower and is ordered to revive him. She's then escorted out by Mix, who leaves Access alone with Strangefate. Strangefate then begins torturing Access and proclaims himself to be the protector of this universe. Access pretends that he doesn't know of the multiverse, though Strangefate is not convinced. Strangefate reveals he knows Access is the sole survivor of the 2 universes, Marvel and DC, that preceded the current Amalgam universe. He also knows that Access has the keys to restore both these universes, but Strangefate intends to stop him. Access asks Strangefate how he knows so much. In response, Strangefate claims that he's the most powerful entity in the new universe and was instructed by Naboo, the Ancient One, in the art of sorcery. Strangefate also had considerable psychic abilities that let him read Access's mind. Straining against his mystic bonds, Access claims that nothing in the Amalgam universe is actually supposed to exist. He tries to teleport himself out, but Strangefate points out that while in his sanctum, Access cannot use his powers. Strangefate uses the all-seeing eye to gaze at the very core of Access's being and tries to destroy the shards of the previous universes carried within Access. Strangefate abruptly stops as Access falls to the floor and realizes that the shards are not within him at all. He realizes he's failed and doesn't know what to do next. Freed from the mystic bonds, Access manages to stand up. He explains that he hid the shards in a safe place and intends to use them to restore the 2 older universes. He then runs to the window, attempting to escape. Still shocked, Strangefate helplessly asks him to not take his world apart. Access breaks the window and starts falling. He attempts to teleport willingly for the first time and manages to do so before hitting the ground. Back in the sanctum, Strangefate contemplates his failure. He failed to carry out his vow to protect this universe from destruction. His goal to create a better world is now gone. He drops his mask and reveals his face as that of Charles Xavier. Realizing it's over, he leaves the sanctum, fighting the good fight. Teammates turn rivals as the Judgment League Avengers, JLA, find themselves fighting against their ex-teammates for the release of the mutant named Mariner, Submariner, and Aquaman, also one of the firstborn mutants. Mr. X, an amalgamation of Marvel's Professor X and DC's Martian Manhunter, assembles Apollo, Cyclops and the Ray amalgamated, Runaway, Rogue and Gypsy combined, Night Creeper, Nightcrawler and Creeper, Firebird, Phoenix and Fire, Wraith, Gambit and Obsidian, and Mercury, Quicksilver and Impulse for the mission. Together, known as JLX, this team is successful in freeing their teammate and fellow mutant. As they try to flee to Mariner's homeland of Atlantis, the JLA catches up with them and a battle ensues. The JLA comprises big guns like Super Soldier, an impressively visualized combination of Captain America and Superman with his shield bearing the S symbol, Dark Claw, Wolverine and Batman, Captain Marvel, Marvel's Captain Marvel and DC's Captain Marvel, Angel Hawk, Angel and Hawkman 2, Goliath and Green Arrow, Canary, Mockingbird and Black Canary 2, and Hawkeye, Marvel's Hawkeye and DC's Green Arrow 2. While managing to hold their own against these skilled and experienced fighters, the battle ends when Mr. X telepathically instructs Angel Hawk from the JLA to fake an injury, revealing that Angel Hawk himself is secretly a mutant. After he's saved by Captain Marvel, the JLA decides to stop pursuing Mariner and await his guilty verdict. Mariner is impressed by their sympathy and compassion as the JLX team continues on to Atlantis. When Mr. X and the rest of the JLX team find the lost city of Atlantis, they discover it's been abandoned and are confronted by the mutant-hating Will Magnus, who is Magneto's brother and is Bolivar Trask, Doc Robot and David Magnus combined, Jocasta, and Magnus's Sentinels, giant mutant-hunting robots. The JLX prepare for the fight of their lives as Mariner strikes first, prompting Magnus to send in his Sentinels, and the battle begins. Magnus asks Jocasta to help him take down the mutants as Runaway attacks. Another Sentinel takes her down. Wraith eliminates Jocasta with one strike as he runs to check on Runaway. Magnus mourns Jocasta and contemplates how mutants have tormented him since his brother's powers manifested. Distraught, he orders the Sentinels to strike at the towers and bring it down. Runaway is trapped as the towers come crumbling down, as Mr. X realizes he's the only one who can save her. Surprising everyone, he reveals his true form, that of a Skrull named John Jones. Magnus and the Sentinels fly away, promising to return and kill the mutants. Wraith and Mercury want to go after him, but John Jones stops them. He tells them that they should be looking for clues instead that'll help them track down the lost Atlanteans. After initial resistance, the JLX accepted him and decided to stay under his leadership. The best vengeance there is. Following a not-so-subtle hint left by Hyena, Dark Claw tracks him down to the Gotham printing press. Dark Claw is injured after his first attempt to take down Hyena, but thanks to his mutant healing factor, he's able to stand up. Sparrow, an amalgam of Jubilee and Robin, informs him over comms that his vital function readings look bleak. Dark Claw tells Sparrow to keep her eye on the sky as Hyena is headed for the roof and he'd need cover. As the two fight it out, Hyena is not impressed with Dark Claw's banter and calls him boring. Just as Dark Claw is about to eliminate Hyena, his goons manage to disrupt the battle as Hyena escapes. Dark Claw leaps off the roof onto the helicopter that Sparrow's piloting. After some banter, the duo is able to maneuver and outrun the missiles. In the trendy part of New Gotham, Huntress, aka Carol Danvers, breaks into Logan's penthouse loft. As she enters, she comes across a studio with paintings in Logan's distinct style that critics say possess the fury of feral slashes. She takes the stairs up to the master bedroom and stumbles across the photo frames with pictures of his parents. She also sees pictures of Logan in the RCAF with Creed H. Quinn and deduces the two knew each other before the project. After opening a wardrobe, she finds Dark Claw's costumes and learns the truth. Huntress is then confronted by Dark Claw. The two exchange blows but soon stop when Huntress tells him her real target is Creed. They get to talking about the project. At first, Carol thinks it went awry, but Logan tells her it was actually quite successful and the experiment achieved its end result. Dark Claw revealed that the experiment produced a remorseless killing machine, a weapon with an imagination. Huntress asks whether Logan is that weapon, to which he replies he was the failed experiment and takes Huntress down to his underground lair called the Barrow. Dark Claw lets her in on his past and that Creed and him were in the same unit in the Royal Canadian Air Force Security. Sparrow initially expresses her apprehensions over Huntress's involvement, but the three soon start looking for clues as to Hyena's next move. They find a rebus, and after decoding it, find two clues: AF1, meaning Air Force One, and NaCN for sodium cyanide, a deadly poison. They realize the president is in trouble. At the Gotham International Airport, Huntress, Sparrow, and Dark Claw arrive just in time. Dark Claw breaks into the aeroplane carrying the president to warn his security detail about Hyena's plan. As the guards try to protect the president from Darkclaw, Hyena ambushes them and launches a grenade. Darkclaw intervenes and absorbs the impact of the grenade thanks to his mutant healing factor. He jets out of the plane along with Hyena, airing out most of the cyanide. Hyena opens his parachute and flies away, while Darkclaw is left to the forces of gravity. Both Sparrow and Darkclaw hope they time it just right as Darkclaw lands on the side and holds onto the side wheels of the helicopter. A shield of hope. In 1938, the US Army discovered a crashed spaceship with no survivors. True to form, despite not knowing its origin, they decided to collect cell samples from the corpse inside the spacecraft and began their experiments. As the US was preparing for the Second World War, they added these cell samples to the experimental super soldier serum in order to create a strong and patriotic soldier. Their test subject, Clark Kent, was a 4F volunteer at the time who, after receiving the serum, was exposed to solar radiation. While the scientists had some clue about the effects of the serum, they didn't realize that it would grant him superpowers. Eager to keep this under wraps, the government struck a deal with journalist Jimmy Olsen, who found out the truth about the experiment termed The Project, to be the official reporter for this new superhero called Super Soldier, very clearly a combination of Captain America and Superman. Olsen followed him around and let the world know of Super Soldier's exploits. After going up against Ultra Metallo, a robot with a comically large Nazi symbol on its chest, a Nazi robot, if you will, in the Atlantic Ocean, Super Soldier was thought to be dead as he drowned along with the robot, ending the fight. Years later, Olsen wondered whether he should officially lie about Super Soldier's death in the papers. In the present day, Olsen has been kidnapped by Lex Luther, aka the Green Skull, the head of Hydra. He knows the truth about Super Soldier and plans on resurrecting Ultra Metallo to take him down. At the offices of the Daily Planet, Sharon Carter is mad at Clark Kent for mistyping her name. As Clark apologizes, he's interrupted by a bruised and beaten-up Olsen, who weakly mutters Hydra had him kidnapped and gives Super Soldier a cryptic clue: Washington at 4. As the rest of the journalists rush in to help their editor-in-chief, wondering what Hydra could possibly want from him, Kent packs his shield in his briefcase and heads into the storeroom. He strikes the iconic pose, opening his shirt, revealing the Captain America costume underneath. Flying over the city, Super Soldier contemplates all that he's been through since he went under, along with Ultra Metallo. He was in the ice for 5 decades until the JLA revived him to a world where he keeps getting weaker. Hydra, on the other hand, became stronger, and while the world thinks Luther is a saint, only Kent knows he was the actual creator of the deadly robot. The evil mastermind's intentions were to profit off the war, and back then, an overconfident Super Soldier had decided to fight Ultra Metallo instead of revealing the truth about Luther. He vows to not repeat that mistake again, as that cost him a victory, and worse, led to Luther's evil reign for 50 years. He's willing to even sacrifice himself to stop Luther. After reaching Washington, Super Soldier doesn't find any sign of Hydra and wonders what Olsen was trying to tell him. He soon figures out the clue. At 4, the Washington Monument casts a sundial shadow directly at the building that turns out to be Hydra's headquarters, where Olsen was kept. Super Soldier smashes his way in through a wall, beating up the guards while asking them what they wanted with Olsen and why he was beaten up so badly. While landing punches, he tells them to talk as Luther enters, pointing out the guards don't really have much to say with regards to Olsen's predicament. He reveals he's the mastermind behind the whole operation. Super Soldier is surprised to see Luther, as he's maintained his image of a tragic and philanthropic recluse so far, and Luther sarcastically agrees it's risky to come out of hiding now. Luther mocks Super Soldier for his over-enthusiasm of exposing him to the public, and just as Kent resolves to do his job, he's attacked by a blast from Ultra Metallo that he stops with his shield. As Luther reveals how, after finding Ultra Metallo while trawling the North Seas, he realized Olsen had falsely reported its destruction at the hands of Super Soldier. After that, Olsen's journals filled in the gaps, and Luther realized the journalist was much more of a threat than he'd imagined. As Ultra Metallo throws Super Soldier out of a window, the superhero remembers what the robot's mission was: to bomb the White House, turning Washington, D.C. into ash and rubble. Luther safely watches the fight through the cameras fitted in Ultra Metallo and comments on how the last time Super Soldier was able to stand his ground against the deadly robot, but seems to have become less powerful now. After yet another blow from the robot, Super Soldier realizes Metallo's stronger than him and resolves to find a way to defeat him. As Super Soldier tries to get to the bomb inside the robot's chest, he's blasted by radiation, while Luther reveals the bomb isn't made out of normal radioactive metals like uranium or plutonium, but something much more deadly that Luther got from the meteorite that landed near the crashed alien ship. He calls it the Kansas Load, Green K for short. After injecting himself with some of it, he saved the rest to create the K-bombs and tells Super Soldier that there's enough of it in Metallo to create the mother of K-bomb explosions. Super Soldier then realizes this K is what's making him weak, but at the same time revives his strength to continue the fight. He decides to take advantage of that and charges at Metallo, resolving to keep the bomb intact to prove Luther was behind the terrorist attack, since he's the only one who knows the secret of the K-bomb. As Super Soldier struggles to keep Metallo at bay, he's hit with yet another radiation blast, as Luther is determined to succeed in his mission. Super Soldier seems to be running away as he flies off in the opposite direction, prompting Luther to instruct his robot to march on inside for him as he prepares to detonate the bomb. Just as all seems to be lost, with the Secret Service firing their guns at a robot, one of them notices something up above in the sky. Metallo is impaled by a lead pipe as Super Soldier makes his comeback and realizes the lead in the pipes he was surrounded by when Metallo tossed him were protecting him from the radiation. He extracts the K-bomb from inside the robot, traps it in the lead pipe, and tosses it far away. Luther, angered by this defeat, decides to detonate the bomb. Super Soldier arrives as the K-bomb lands in Luther's control room to take him away. At the Daily Planet, Sharon Carter congratulates Jimmy Olsen for the expose on Lex Luther. Kent is standing in the corner, looking out the window and contemplating the fallout from the K-bombs that's created a blanket of radiation, which is the cause for his growing weakness. He wonders what effects it might have on him in the future, as Olsen breaks his train of thought by thanking him for the scoop on Luther. He chooses to focus on the victory for now and thinks about how Olsen felt guilty for falsifying news back in the day, but has redeemed himself and his reputation now. With the American flag in the background, the true patriot Clark Kent internally monologues that while he can rest now, the war against Hydra is far from over, as Luther's men will rise again to harm mankind. He vows to be front and center when the war begins again. A spy, determined, Green Skull, Lex Luther, realizes all is lost as Hydra's base is infiltrated by his arch-enemy, Bruce Wayne. As the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Wayne is leading a direct assault on Hydra's Omega base. While his helicarrier looms above, Selina Luthor, aka Madame Cat, Madame Hydra, and Catwoman combined, Lex Luthor's daughter leads an uprising to overthrow her father as the new head of Hydra. With a whip, she knocks the gun out of Lex Luthor's hand and yanks a rope at him, choking him as he falls to the ground. Standing over him, she tells Luthor that the assassins that he sent to kill Wayne failed in their mission, and he now knows their location. She's had enough of the petty rivalry between Wayne and Luthor, and is determined to eliminate them both. Raising a hand in victory after eliminating her father, she establishes her position as Supreme Hydra, with the words, "Hail Hydra." In the helicarrier, Nick Fury is furious at Bruce Wayne for planning to launch a full-blown assault. Wayne reminds him the attack isn't just planned, but in progress, and he needs more time to argue with Fury about it. Fury argues that while Wayne is skilled, he needs to learn the extreme measures the Skull will take to succeed. Wayne assures Fury he's factored that in as Black Bat, an amalgam of Marvel's Black Cat and DC's Batgirl, and Moonwing, an amalgam of Marvel's Moon Knight and DC Comics Nightwing, walk in. Wayne hangs up on Fury. In a flashback, it's revealed that when Wayne was young, his parents were also spies who were assassinated by Hydra. Consumed by revenge, he joined S.H.I.E.L.D. just after he graduated from law school and was trained by World War II veterans Nick Fury and Sergeant Joe Ruck. Eventually, Wayne becomes the director. It isn't clear whether he rose through the ranks himself or used his father's money to just buy S.H.I.E.L.D. rather than wait for a promotion. As Fury himself comments, and starts using S.H.I.E.L.D. resources against Green Skull, who had ordered the assassination of his parents. Fury remarks that the death toll caused by Wayne repeatedly going up against the Green Skull has caused his soul to virtually disappear, and wonders what he should do. Joe suggests he should step back and support Wayne, and Fury agrees to join in on the fight. Back on the helicarrier, Wayne has a jetpack attached to his suit as Tony Stark tries to brief Wayne on its use. In this amalgam universe, Stark is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and was crippled during his service. He's confined to his support chair as Wayne tells Stark he sounds like a mother hen, reminding him that he trained almost 100 hours with the jetpack. Stark points out that the training sessions were not in combat conditions. As he runs off to face the Skull, Wayne promises Tony that he'll bring the jetpack back in one piece. He tells Stark that he wishes he could come with him. Stark says he wishes he could go as well, and that might someday be possible as he's currently working on something at Stark Labs that might allow him to get up from his souped-up Barker lounger. He wishes Wayne success in his mission as he's running out. Wayne is informed that while Hydra has taken some damage, they were still able to launch a counterattack. Wayne then decides to join in the attack, taking it to the ground. Wayne, Black Bat, and Moonwing prepare to jump. Before they jump, Barbara Hardy, aka Black Cat, kisses Wayne, wishing him luck. At the Hydra base, Madame Cat is informed that the S.H.I.E.L.D.'s defenses are impenetrable. She orders they continue, as only one aircraft needs to penetrate S.H.I.E.L.D.'s defenses, even at the cost of the pilots' lives. She then strikes one of the guards for not referring to her as Hydra Supreme, and he complies before informing her of the activation of the Planet Smasher program by her father before he died. Unbothered by her father's actions, she disregards this information until it's revealed that the Planet Smasher program operates the Terror Cannon. Flying above the base, Wayne instructs Moonwing to take care of Hydra's aircraft guns. Moonwing complies, as Hardy is instructed to stay by his side to keep the other jets from reaching the helicarrier. As a Hydra jet manages to penetrate the defenses, Wayne decides to take care of it and is knocked out by the explosion. Seeing this, Black Bat asks Dick Grayson, aka Moonwing, over comms to help while he's fighting other Hydra guards on the ground. He tells Black Bat to track the homing device that Wayne has on his suit, and he'll join them as soon as he can. He's ambushed by Deathlock, aka Jason Todd in a cyborg suit, who tells him he's been waiting a long time to take both Dick Grayson and Wayne down. Unmasking Moonwing, Deathlock is surprised as Grayson recognizes his voice and accuses him and Wayne for leaving him for dead after he was caught up in the explosion caused when Hyena, Creed H. Quinn, detonated a bomb meant for Bruce Wayne and Dark Claw, Logan Wayne. Using his superhuman strength, Deathlock strangles Moonwing at the Hydra base. The new Hydra Supreme and her men rush to try and deactivate the Terror Cannon, which is revealed to be a Doomsday gun aimed down a shaft drilled miles into the core of the Earth. It's another one of Green Skull's failures that was created to defeat Super Soldier. Baron Zemo, a visually stunning combination of Baron von Strucker of Marvel and DC's Mr. Freeze, points out that it's one of Lex Luthor's failed missions. The Arctic mission similarly led to him being trapped in a nitrogen stasis suit in sub-zero temperatures. He's quickly shut down by his leader, who tells him everyone, including her, Deathlock, Tony Stark and Nuke have been a casualty of the war between Bruce Wayne and her father, Lex Luthor. Now, the entire planet is in danger as the cannon can't be deactivated once the firing sequence has been initiated. The nuclear charge will build up till it reaches a critical point, and then the cannon will automatically fire into a fault in the continental shift, resulting in the entire east coast of the United States submerging into the ocean. She wonders aloud whether her father is having the last laugh in hell. Back on the battleground, Wayne tries his communication system to seek help from the helicarrier. As the only response he gets is static, he realizes his comms are down. Nuke, a combination of Marvel Comics' Nuke and DC's Bane, arrives on the scene saying it's a pity Bruce's friends won't witness him breaking Bruce's back. Wayne gets up, mocking Nuke's drug addiction, saying drugs are for the weak. Nuke then presses a button on his wrists, injecting himself with the strength-enhancing drug, Venom. Deathlock, still strangling Moonwing, says he could easily snap Grayson's neck, but he prefers to see his enemy gasping and broken like him. Just as he's about to kill Moonwing, Colonel Nick Fury and Sergeant Joe Rock arrive in an aircraft raining fire at Deathlock. As Deathlock falls, his mask comes off and Grayson is surprised that Todd joined Hydra. Grayson tells Black Bat about their past and that Todd had worn the Moonwing suit when Grayson was finishing college. He leaves his friend once more to go help Bruce Wayne, accompanied by Black Bat. Nuke seems to have the upper hand as he knocks Wayne back using his super strength. He tells Wayne that Lex Luthor had come up with multiple complex ideas to defeat Wayne, but he never had the courage to face him. He remarks Wayne will be easy to kill, much like his parents. This prompts Wayne to fight back. He overloads Nuke's wrist injectors that floods his bloodstream with venom and ends up giving him a fatal heart attack. As Moonwing and Black Bat join him, Bruce decides to rethink his life and focus on the present. Moonwing points out the ground rumbling as the trio deduce that the Planet Smasher program has been activated. They decide to fight till the end and put a stop to Green Skull once and for all. As Madame Cat and Baron Zero wonder about the effects of the Terror Cannon as it's almost reached the critical point, Hydra agents try fleeing to save themselves from the unknown effects of the gun. Unfortunately for them, Madame Cat fires at them, ordering them to serve Hydra or die. Wayne and his team arrive, intent on reversing whatever the Skull has activated. He's surprised as Madame Cat tells him Green Skull is dead and that she's the leader now. Wayne overpowers her, knocking her to the ground and demands that she tell him how to shut down the weapon. Selina laughs, saying she doesn't know how, and comments on how the Skull isn't alive to see he won. An explosion follows as Nick Fury in his aircraft flying above the destroyed base comments on how there'll be no survivors. Elsewhere, the Skull, who's revealed to be alive, watches the base go up in a ball of fury and proclaims there's no one left to stop him now. A Punisher's victory. Princess Diana, a rogue Amazonian from Paradise Islands who left her home years ago to investigate the ways of humankind, teams up with ex-military Trevor Castle, aka the Punisher, who went up against the Mafia when his family was killed. They're currently fighting the Hand. Castle underestimates Diana, calling her a princess and asking her to take cover. She retaliates, saying she's more than capable of handling the Hand goons and that she'll give up her adamantium bracelets that she's stopping bullets with the day she's unable to hold her own against the Hand or Castle, for that matter. She retrieves her collapsible looping bow that she'd hidden away in her quiver and with expert precision, fires, hitting her targets. goons of the Hand. Castle, on the other hand, chooses a more brute approach as he launches himself at the goons and fires his gun furiously at them. As the rest of the surviving Hand goons flee, Diana is annoyed with Castle's approach, as they were supposed to take some of the goons in alive for questioning. She tells him that she assumed he'd started using dummy bullets. Castle says that he was, but he had to switch them out for actual bullets because the Hand goons kept attacking. As they walk away, they decide to focus on finding a kidnapped child. Castle reminds her that they have a lot of history, and we cut to a flashback. The duo led starkly opposite lives, with Diana growing up in the mystic Paradise Islands, while Castle's young years were mostly spent in his service in Vietnam. While Diana willingly left her island after saying goodbye to her adopted sister Aurora to learn more about mankind, Castle's world changed forever during a picnic with his family in the park. Diana received her adamantium bracelets from the Wakandan king after helping him, while Castle lost his family in a mafia crossfire. Since then, Diana's been living among mankind as Diana Prince, freelance, while Castle made his mark as the Punisher for his one-man army assault on the mob. These two individuals, who would seemingly never cross paths due to their very different lives, met when she saved him from dying. Eventually, they did fall in love, got married and had a child they named Ryan Castaglione. Surprising no one, their differences drove them apart, but they were once again brought together as their child was kidnapped. As they approach a room, both Diana and Castle know they're walking into a trap. They talk about the circumstances leading to their current situation and ponder the what-ifs. Jim Rhodes, aka Monarch, an amalgam of War Machine and Monarch, meets them as a holographic projection and tells them he hasn't kidnapped Ryan. As Diana tries to reason with him and asks him to take her to her child, he agrees and uses a boom tube to force them to Apocalypse. Recalling the horrors they previously faced here, Diana and Castle get to work, and she tells Castle that Ryan is probably in the orphanage run by Granny Harkness. Castle agrees and goes to find some weapons while Diana walks in the opposite direction towards the orphanage. They decide to rendezvous at the entrance to the orphanage. While Diana's waiting for Castle, Big Titania arrives and launches herself at Diana. In her desperation, Diana knocks down Titania and demands her to know the whereabouts of her only child when she's ambushed by the female Furies. Elsewhere, Trevor finds the tomb of an old friend and ambushes some parademons to enter it. He opens the sarcophagus and finds what he's looking for. Diana's captured and taken to Thanoside, an obvious amalgam of Thanos and Darkseid, complete with purple skin and red eyes, who wants to know the location of the Infinity Links to bring about order. Now, where have we heard that before? Diana tells him they were destroyed because they were too powerful, but he thinks she's lying. He tells her that if she doesn't give him the location of the links, her son will be killed. Just then, Trevor flies in with Orion's Astro Force gear and shouts out to Thanoside. He catches them by surprise, and they attack. Big Titania realizes that she's on the wrong side and turns on the Furies. Kanto tries to kill Diana, but changes his mind for unknown reasons. Granny Harkness then gives Diana the choice to give up her child or die. Seeing this, Thanoside decides to end it with his Omega beams as Kanto and Castle face off. Diana stops Castle and realizes Thanoside's plot. Along with causing destruction, his Omega beams also bend space and time. She realizes Ryan was sent back in time and raised by Thanoside on Apocalypse as his personal assassin, and named Kanto. After looking in his eyes, she realizes that Kanto is really their son, and Thanoside wanted revenge for the death of his own son, Orion. Using his beams, Thanoside sends Titania and Kanto to New Asgard, where they're met by the High Father Odin. When Kanto asks where his parents are, Odin tells him they're where they belong. Back on Earth, Diana and Trevor know they defeated Thanoside and saved their son. The duo seal their victory with a kiss. The family. In New York, Kokoro, an amalgam of Psylocke and Katana, is fighting a Sentinel, aka a mutant hunter. As the Magnetic Men make a grand entrance and try to take out the Sentinel using their powers, Sinestron, an amalgam of Mr. Sinister and Simon, introduces himself as the ultimate Sentinel as he freezes one of the Magnetic Men in place. The Magnetic Men, an amalgam of the Brotherhood of the Evil Mutants and Metal Men, are a team of sentient robots created by Magneto. Although it seems like the Magnetic Men, comprising antimony, bismuth, cobalt, iron, and nickel, have the upper hand initially as they launch strategic attacks that are defeated by Sinestron's jet blasters. Magneto arrives and vows to fight alongside his Magnetic Men for the betterment of mutant kind. Aboard his magnetic airship, Magneto activates Cerebro, the supercomputer he created to track down and help mutants, and calls Mr. X, seeking assistance with the new enemy. Mr. X informs him he's preoccupied with saving his own band of mutants from their friends-turned-enemies, the JLX. Magneto is furious at Mr. X for leading mutants into battle rather than keeping them safe, and painfully remembers the time he led his own team of mutants, the Brotherhood. As the Magnetic Men are talking amongst themselves, Magneto is shocked to discover this band of robots displays emotions and each have a distinct personality, similar to their deceased Brotherhood counterparts. While Magneto ponders the past and how he lost his beloved team when his own brother Will Magnus created Sentinels that eliminated them, they arrive at Genosha after the readings from Cerebro point to a huge population of captive mutants there. Magneto assembles his magnetic men with an inspiring speech calling to them to fight till the death to free the mutants. As they make their way to the Citadel down below, they're able to easily dismantle the security measures and blow down the walls guarding the city. Soon, they stumble across a sight so horrifying that even the soulless machines were shocked. A vast chamber filled with stasis containers with mutants inside. Magneto instructs the magnetic men to release the mutants as Cistron attacks. He reveals he brainwashed 5 of the captured mutants and releases them to destroy Magneto. Determined not to harm mutants, Magneto decides to attack Sinistron's electromagnetism directly, but Cistron manages to reverse the magnetic polarity and freezes Magneto. The magnetic men are also frozen, as Magneto's powers are their life source. Cistron goes into a monologue about how Will Magnus, in his hatred for his brother, gave Cistron his ultimate sentinel, sentience. Cistron reveals his plan to enslave mutants and use them to rule over the inferior humans. As he rambles on, Antimony frees herself by sheer will and is joined by Bismuth. But Cistron knocks Cistron out of the duo as the remaining 3 magnetic men look on. Cobalt, who was fitted with the best electronic mind in the team, uses his willpower and frees the magnetic men from the minds of both Magneto and Cistron, who, with a single force-filled electromagnetic blast, renders Cistron incapable of fighting back. In a last-ditch attempt, an escape drone from Sinistron's core automatically activates the status cells to self-destruct. Magneto instructs his robots to save the mutants as he destroys the electromagnetic system controlling the island. He then goes to help Antimony, who seems to be hurt, and offers to repair her. She refuses, saying she'll fight the good fight alongside him, but he shouldn't expect anything more from her. Nickel is angry as he wants to kill Cistron. Magneto assures him that Sinistron's consciousness is still alive and the battle is far from over. He calls the magnetic men his family, as he's reassured they'll help him battle Cistron and every other enemy of human and mutant kind. The fastest spirit of vengeance. In Gotham City, Hal Jordan, the amalgam of Marvel Comics Star Brand and DC's Airwave, of the Star Brand Corps faces Uatu, the Guardian. Uatu had framed him for the murder of Sinestro and, in his quest for ushering in a new world, murdered the rest of the Corps. Just as he's about to die, Jordan is saved by Speed Demon. In the Amalgam universe, Ghost Rider from Marvel Comics merged with the Flash and Etrigan the Demon from DC to create Speed Demon. Almost as quickly as he's saved, Jordan dies as Speed Demon, while rhyming badly, incinerates everything using his fire breath. At the Quentin Carnival, the circus folk talk Wally West into leaving and getting away from his uncle, Blaze Allen. After noticing suspicious movement, he refuses to leave and heads into his uncle's trailer. Standing outside the trailer, Wally witnesses Allen revert to his human form, his blazing skull now appearing human. Shocked, Wally asks Allen why he chose to be bonded with a demon. Allen reveals that the pain of losing his wife Iris was too much to bear, so he became the Speed Demon with the mission to stop Night Spectre from collecting the souls of power that hold the key to all of heaven, earth, and hell. Allen asks Wally to stay away and changes to his blazing demon skull form again as Etrigan has located the last soul of power, Harvey Osborn, the Green Goblin. Goblin is fighting his former comrades Scarecrow and Silicon Man, who want his soul. Night Spectre then reveals himself in human form, ready to take the last soul as his minions fail him, but Osborn is whisked away by Speed Demon. As the two fight, Night Spectre catches up, and it swiftly turns into a battle between Speed Demon and Night Spectre. Speed Demon is winning. Can't say the same for his rhyme scheme until he's hit with 2 arrows, pinning him to a wall. Arrowcaster, an amalgam of Marvel Comics Spy Master and DC's Speedy, arrives and is instructed by Night Spectre to eliminate the blazing speedster. Arrowcaster should have aimed for the mouth, as he's killed by Speed Demon's fiery breath. While Speed Demon and Night Spectre were fighting for their souls, Green Goblin was trying to get away. He doesn't get far as Night Spectre catches up to him and takes him to his Sanctum of Lost Souls to torture his soul for eternity. Meanwhile, Wally meets Merlin, who tells him about Alan's past with Night Spectre and how he helped bond Etrigan with Alan. A determined Wally wants to help his uncle, and Merlin has just the right proposition for him. Speed Demon follows Night Spectre into the Sanctum as Etrigan and Alan are separated. Night Spectre subdues them both and prepares to take their souls. At the last moment, another Speed Demon comes crashing in on his motorbike and defeats Night Spectre. With a hiss and a sizzle, this new Speed Demon is revealed to be Wally West. As uncle and nephew triumphantly run, leaving a fiery blaze before them, things have worked out fine. Alan agrees to let Wally be his sidekick on missions. In a final twist, it's revealed that Wally's soul has been bonded with the Night Spectres. The Scarlet Clone. At the research facilities of the Cadmus Project, Spider-Boy, an amalgam of Spider-Man and Superboy, is fighting Bizarnage, Carnage and Bizarro combined. Bizarnage wants to kill Spider-Boy, who comically remarks that his merchandising sales will increase drastically if he's killed. As Bizarnage threatens to kill Red, aka Johnny Storm, the director of Cadmus, Spider-Boy diverts Bizarnage's attention to himself, offering to stay still for Bizarnage to kill him. As soon as Bizarnage comes close enough, Spider-Boy shoots him with his web shooter, a pistol that fires synthetic webs. He misses Bizarnage, who boasts he's smarter than Spider-Boy's pistol. Spider-Boy didn't actually miss but was aiming for the button that opens the door to an energy containment cell and traps Bizarnage in. Spider-Boy pulls up the video feed from the cell and hilariously remarks that the camera does add 10 pounds, even to a symbiote. As Prof. Richards and Senator Rocky Grimm from the Challengers of the Fantastic check in on their teammate Red, he assures them he's okay and pulls out a mini Johnny Stormtrooper clone from his chest pocket in preparation for their trip to the Phantom Negative Zone. With Bizarnage contained, the scientists try to figure out who set him free in the first place. Grimm suspects Dabney, who points out he was with them the entire time, giving him an airtight alibi. It was actually Richards who let Bizarnage go. As it turns out, Richards is being experimented on by Dabney, who's secretly been feeding him the evil DNA and commanding him to carry out his orders. No time for a coffee break as Susan Ace Storm walks in holding up Dr. Connors with bad news. King Lizard escaped when Bizarnage took out the power grid and disappeared into the underground river. Richards goes to check in on Ace, who tells him she's capable of handling herself. Dr. Connors blames himself for the situation and is reminded that his severed arm was mysteriously combined with reptile DNA and grown into the cannibal Kruk. He didn't have a hand in it, in a manner of speaking. Grimm leaps into action and is ready to call in the army to stop King Lizard. Spider-Boy stops him, reminding him that Cadmus is a secret facility, and decides to take on King Lizard himself. Ace gives him 2 hours to do so before she calls her boss, Bruce Wayne. Spider-Boy tells her to make it a collect call, as their latest disasters have stretched Cadmus's budget thin. He heads into Dr. Pym and Dr. Palmer's lab and gets entangled in a discussion about the philosophical implications of quantum theory. Dr. Otto Octavius prepares the Fantastiwagon for him, and Spider-Boy offers him the position of his sidekick. He reminds him about the blind date he set up for Spider-Boy. As he's zooming away, Spider-Boy wishes he'd rather fight Doc Ock as his enemy than deal with being set up on dates. He recalls how the Doc has always been there for him since his Uncle Jen died. In a flashback, Spider-Boy's origins are revealed. General Thunderbolt Ross decided to recreate the super soldier experiment. Peter Parker, under the guidance of Dr. Octavius, presented the idea of creating a clone of a super soldier with the genetic ability to manipulate gravity. The experiment went sideways when Parker died from a mysterious power surge, and the clone was awakened prematurely. Frightened, the young boy climbed up a wall and was eased down by Ross, who adopted him. Looks like his uncle wasn't even safe in this universe, as he uttered the iconic, some would argue cursed words, "Great power comes great responsibility," and is killed by a mugger. Since then, he vowed to never be dismissed as just a kid and called attention to himself by donning a suit and appearing on TV. Back in the present, he climbs into a giant slingshot and launches himself onto the roof of the Daily Bugle's office and changes into Pete Russ, his human secret identity. Tana Moon approaches him with the opportunity to expose the secret government base located just outside the city. Ross realizes she's talking about Cadmus, and just as he's about to reply, J. Jonah Jameson arrives, slapping Ross on the back for the photos he took for the new headline about Spider-Boy marrying Insect Queen. They're interrupted by a journalist named Ryder, who tells them King Lizard is down at Pier 69. Jameson sends his journalist to cover the story and looks around for Ross to click the pictures. Back in his suit, Spider-Boy makes his musical entrance, singing his own jingle, and attacks King Lizard while commenting on the extra weight he's put on. King Lizard knocks him down, but the New York Special Crimes Unit arrives, firing at the monster. Spider-Boy notices King Lizard is growing, and remembers Ace saying King Lizard tore through Hank Pym's particle accelerator, making him grow in size. He makes a quick trip to the Cadmus building, where he finds Dr. Palmer's White Dwarf prototype gun to shrink the lizard. King Lizard dramatically enters as the White Dwarf equipment is activated, and Spider-Boy has to act fast. He runs up to the roof and, pressing a button on his web slinger, shoots the shrink gun down Lizard's throat. A subatomic lizard squeaks about having his revenge someday. Doc Ock arrives hearing the explosion, and in what can only be called a jaw-dropping twist, introduces Spider-Boy to his date, Mary Jane Watson, aka Insect Queen, who remarks Spider-Boy just hit the jackpot. Changing history. The X-Patrol are the amalgamation of Marvel Comics X-Force and DC's Doom Patrol. The Meta-Mutant team is led by Niles Cable and comprises Elastigirl, Shatter Starfire, Pharaoh Man, and Beastling. Their headquarters is the X building shaped like the letter X as Elastigirl heads in for the first meeting of the X-Patrol. As the others grow impatient and wonder why they gathered, a fight breaks out between Princess Shatter Starfire and Beastling as he tries to woo her. Pharaoh Man intervenes, stopping a blade with his metallic body, and just in time, Niles Cable arrives and provides a recap of each character's origins. Princess Shatter Starfire, the heir to the subatomic throne of Tamajuran, who was betrayed by her people, was saved and brought to this world by Spider-Boy. Beastling was injected with an experimental serum that turned him into a monster when he was afflicted by a fatal disease. Paige Guthrie, aka Dial Husk, found a strange artifact in an Appalachian cave that gave her the power to change her costume and character with the turn of a dial. Ferroman, aka Piotr Rasputin, whose mutant powers made him into living metal and drove him away from his twin brother Alexei. Janet Van Dyne, aka Elastigirl, whose mutant powers were activated when she was exposed to volcanic gases on an expedition, gave her the power to both shrink and expand. Elastigirl helped Cable assemble the X-Patrol and also renovate the X-Building. As the rest of the members demand answers, Niles reveals he's from the future and has come to lead them as a superhero team. It only takes a little for the team of misfits to agree as they instantly fly out in their aircraft. Inside the aircraft, Cable reveals all the members of the X-Patrol die in the future. Ferroman brilliantly remarks that they're doomed as this patrol is on a suicide mission led by a madman. Cable takes them to Latveria to fight Dr. Doomsday. The aircraft is destroyed upon arrival, and the X-Patrol rapidly descends into the island nation. Beastling catches Elastigirl and Dial Hush in his claws while Shatter Starfire carries Cable. Ferroman literally crashes down into Doomsday's fortress. Cable asks Shatter Starfire to follow Ferroman into the fortress, and after initially hesitating, she decides to help. Inside the fortress, Doomsday is preparing to kill Ferroman as Cable and Shatter Starfire ambush him. The rest of the X-Patrol arrive, and before Elastigirl can attack, Dial Husk changes into Polaris, the mistress of magnetism. While she's trying to defeat Doomsday, Cable realizes Doomsday has built a supercomputer to bridge dimensions and realities to create an army of twisted, splintered versions of Amalgam heroes to conquer the universe. As Elastigirl shrinks to slide into the supercomputer, Doomsday attacks Cable with a shattering blow to his back. Elastigirl expands from inside the console, destroying the supercomputer. Dial Husk turns into Mary Marvel Girl, using a telekinesis to float Cable's unconscious body to safety. Elastigirl orders the X-Patrol to go to the harbor as Shadowfire hits Doomsday hard enough for the team to escape safely. They find a boat that Marvel Girl pilots using a telekinesis. As the team heads to Corto Maltese, Cable tells Elastigirl that history is already changing as he can't feel his legs. Man or monster? In the rundown, crime-ridden part of Gotham City, Clark Bullock and Christine Montoya are at a crime scene, investigating the murder of Huggy Maddox, seemingly committed by Bat-Thing, aka Kirk Salis, an amalgam of Marvel Comics Man-Thing and DC's Man-Bat. They talk about the victim's criminal history, subtly pointing to the fact that his murder is justified and that Bat-Thing isn't really a bad guy. Bullock walks away, leaving the paperwork for Montoya as he has to inform Francie Ellen Salis, Bat-Thing's wife, about his return to Gotham. He's unaware of the fact that he's being followed by both Bat-Thing and an unidentified antagonist. At her apartment, Frances Ellen Salis wakes up from a nightmare in which her sweet reunion with her husband quickly turns into a horrifying sight as he transforms into the Bat-Thing. Her daughter Kelly comes into her room, consoling her as the two embrace. There's a knock on the door as Bullock arrives with the news of Bat-Thing's return. As Francie tucks her daughter in, she tells Bullock that her husband would never hurt his family because he loves them. Bat-Thing hears this conversation from a nearby rooftop. Meanwhile, Montoya returns to the precinct, complaining about having to do the paperwork as she looks for the file on Bullock's table. She receives a call from the medical examiner, who informs her of a picture of Kirk's family that he found taped to Maddox's back. She tries to deduce the connection between Maddox and stumbles upon a notice regarding a recent prison break. She concludes that Bullock is in danger. She manages to reach him via radio just in time, thwarting an attack on him by motorcycle-riding goons. A confrontation ensues, and Bullock runs out of bullets in his pistol. The thugs notice his gun is empty, but he cocks a shotgun just in time. As Bullock kills the thugs, they shoot at his chest, not realizing he's wearing a bulletproof vest. As the street confrontation continues, two assailants target Kirk's wife and daughter, entering the apartment. Bullock sees Bat-Thing fly into his family home and assumes he's going to kill them. He reloads his shotgun. Meanwhile, Bat-Thing makes short work of the two assailants who run away in fear. Bullock rushes into the apartment after calling for backup, and as he's going up the stairs, Bat-Thing lunges toward him, prompting Bullock to open fire. However, Bat-Thing's leap is directed not at Bullock, but at the covert villain who is approaching him from behind. In a quick twist, the mystery antagonist is killed, and Bat-Thing takes flight, leaving Bullock astonished. Montoya arrives at the scene and reveals she knew that Bat-Thing was trying to save the city all along. She reveals that the mysterious villain who was determined to kill Bullock was none other than Fat Freddy, a notorious gangster. In their last encounter, Bullock had shot Freddy in the face, leading him to get reconstructive surgery that drastically altered Freddy's appearance and physique due to an inability to consume solid foods. This revelation makes Bullock reconsider Bat-Thing's monstrosity, hinting at the fact that he's much more human than he's given credit for. The Night Terror. At Lenny's bar, Logan Wayne is playing a game of poker, listening to criminals recount their crimes and waiting for the man who shot his parents. He's undercover as Patch Malone, complete with an eye patch, and is confronted by two cyber ninja assassins just as he's about to win a game. He's shot by one of them and extracts his claws, remembering they're cyborgs. He proceeds to mutilate their artificial limbs and sends their replacement parts flying from their body. Sparrow arrives with the Clawmobile. Noticing Wayne's appearance, she asks whether he was cheating at poker. Darkclaw tells her he was fighting cyber assassins. Darkclaw realizes Lady Talia has returned to Gotham seeking revenge for the death of her father, Apocalypse, at Wayne's hands. A flashback reveals the circumstances leading to Apocalypse's death. Darkclaw had to shoot down his aircraft in front of Talia as he flees with the virus that would kill all mutants. As she jumped into the fiery remains looking for her father, she burned off almost all of her skin and retrofitted herself with adamantium limbs to kill Darkclaw. Back in his cave lair, Darkclaw realizes he needs to sharpen his skills and prepare for Talia's assault. He asks Sparrow to set up the danger room to train for her attack. Outside, Talia, talking into her intercom, thanks one of her cyber assassins for implanting a tracking chip in Darkclaw's shoulder that he hasn't yet been able to detect. Noticing he's not on the move, the cyber assassin asks whether he should send a team to ambush Darkclaw. Talia informs him she'll handle him alone. Darkclaw trains with a set of lifelike robots designed to kill him. Just as he's about to finish off the last one, the lights go out and Lady Talia strikes from the shadows as she was able to break into his lair effortlessly. Darkclaw is surprised when he fails to sniff her out, owing to her adamantium limbs. He'd mistaken her metallic scent for that of the decoys. He defends himself from her blows and refuses to retaliate. He asks Talia to stop reminding her of their romantic past. She retaliates by questioning his feelings toward his own parents' killer. Resigned, Darkclaw raises his hands, surrendering himself to her decision of ending his life or sparing him. She plunges her claws into his heart, prompting him to say, "You surprised me there," before collapsing. Talia, showing remorse, begins untying Sparrow, expressing her reluctance to harm an innocent. With nothing left to live for, Talia contemplates ending her own life, expressing a desire to bring both Darkclaw and her father back. Naturally, this is the perfect time for Darkclaw to reveal he's alive thanks to his mutant healing factor. As he recuperates, he delivers a passionate speech about his own internal struggle regarding his parents' murderer. Talia, sorrowful yet resolute, acknowledges her father's permanent absence, while Darkclaw admits his regret over his actions. Sparrow is still tied up and asks for assistance, as the duo don't pay attention to her at all. Wild, Wild West. In the town of Humanity, young Jono Hex and his family faced a lot of prejudice as he was a malform, the 1800s word for mutants. Tragically, owing to the town's bigotry, Hex loses his mother to lack of medical aid and his father to a fire set by the town children. The resulting trauma unlocks Hex's latent mutant powers, bursting out of his face and leaving his face contorted. Hex, now an adult Hex, leads a band of outlaw malforms known as Generation Hex. This team comprises Madame Banshee, Johnny Random, Skin Hunter, White Whip, Retribution, and the twins Trigger. Their activities, described by malformed hunter Marshal Bat Trask as a reign of terror, prompt Trask to set a trap using a money-laden train guarded by steampunk sentinels he called Razor Men. What follows is a tedious pursuit for 3 days and 3 nights as Generation Hex flees desperately, pushing their horses to the brink. After a few of the horses die, infighting begins with the members of Generation X. Hex tells them to stop fighting and decides to distract the Razormen by sending them after Retribution and twins Trigger. Hex, recognizing where they are, decides to return to Humanity. As Hex's gang arrives in Humanity, they terrorize and humiliate the mutants, instilling fear in them without causing any actual harm. Hex himself arrives later, pretending to defeat the gang, driving them out. He earns the hero status and is embraced by the townsfolk, showered with adoration and offerings that he was denied as a child and resident of the town. As the townsfolk request Hex to stay and serve as town sheriff, he refuses and warns of the malform's imminent return, but devises a plan to protect the town. He rejoins his team and then leads them through the town where the townsfolk have on paint, prosthetics, cotton, meat chunks to appear like malforms, and have even changed the town sign to read "Malforms Welcome." X leads his team away from the town, informing them they're all malforms and that they should find some other place to terrorize. As the town celebrates, tragedy strikes as the Razormen arrive and their primitive sensor falsely identifies the town's human folk as malforms. They begin their attack, causing mayhem. X views the chaos from the graveyard just above the town and finds bitter joy in the slaughter of the people of humanity. He looks down at some unmarked graves and wonders whether his family is buried there. Madame Banshee tells him they need to leave before the Razormen catch up to them again. After one last look, he laughed as he rode to Mexico, leaving humanity behind. Fighting the good fight again. In the heart of Senegal, the meeting of the Hellfire League of Injustice is underway. They've gathered to summon forth a demon of unimaginable might known as Fang Flame into their midst. Tasked with annihilation, they commanded Flame to eliminate all meta-mutants, those whose genetic evolution had granted them extraordinary abilities. Flame obeys, albeit killing the members of the League first, as he reasons that all humans are mutated to some extent. He flies away, determined to destroy all life. In New York, the JLA is fighting and losing to the Flame, who has almost laid waste on the city. Super Soldier is busy lifting up the Statue of Liberty from the ruins, saying it symbolizes hope and that's what people need. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Amazon, a fusion of Wonder Woman's valor and Storm's elemental power, proposes the idea of unleashing the JLX, a group of incarcerated meta-mutants currently in prison following the Armageddon agenda. Super Soldier outright refuses the proposition. Captain Marvel makes a racist remark about how the JLX are outsiders and can't be trusted. Super Soldier is shocked by Marvel's racism and remarks that not all meta-mutants are evil. He also says that while he may not agree with the agenda, the JLA are obligated to uphold the law. As he refuses to break the JLX out, Flame unleashes his fire, knocking out Super Soldier, and Amazon decides to face him. She's defeated too, and decides to take matters into her own hands, fleeing to liberate the JLX and recruit them in the fight against Flame. Mr. X, a fusion of Martian Manhunter's telepathic prowess and Professor X's strategic genius, is approached by Amazon, who asks him for help. He reminds her of the consequences of the Armageddon agenda that led to both mutant and human deaths and destroyed the meta-mutants, most of whom either fled or perished. After some coaxing, Mr. X begrudgingly assembles a ragtag team. Meanwhile, the Global Defense Agency S.H.I.E.L.D., led by the resourceful Bruce Wayne, merged with the tactical brilliance of Nick Fury, mobilizes to thwart Flame's destructive onslaught in Tokyo. Their efforts, however, prove futile as Tokyo falls beneath Flame's fiery fury. It's all up to the JLX, who are now free and are the last line of defense between Flame and extinction. Following Mr. X's plan, the JLX decide to destroy the source of Flame's powers. As Iceberg tries to freeze the fiery demon, she's knocked unconscious by a fiery blast. Runaway goes to help her and decides to absorb her powers and go ahead with the plan. Runaway manages to freeze Flame as Night Creeper teleports inside to retrieve the power source. Chaos, however, gets trapped inside and is launching an attack but underestimates the gravitational force of his trajectory. In a climactic showdown, Apollo transcends his humanity, absorbing Flame's infernal essence and ascending to a new level of evolution. In a twist, Amazon, who once stood against the JLX, reveals her own meta-mutant nature and decides to join them. No ducks given. In the heart of a devastated Manhattan, Lobo awakens amidst the wreckage of a city brought to ruin. Surrounding him are the lifeless forms of once mighty heroes like Dr. Strangefate, Dark Claw, and Spider-Boy. The circumstances leading to their death unknown. He decides to track down the murderer because the slain heroes had paid him up front and sets out to investigate. Lobo heads to Al Forbush's diner located below the city, which is the only establishment still standing. As he asks the owner for a six-pack of beer and a supervillain phone book, he's ambushed by Ambush the Lunatic, a fellow mercenary with a similar mission against the villain that destroyed Manhattan and killed the heroes. The two start fighting after a rather visual display of violence on a foul toy by Ambush. In a brutal confrontation, Lobo wins and proceeds to season his defeated opponents with ketchup before consuming Ambush in a display of savage prowess. He then proceeds to enjoy the attention of Ambush's lady companions, forgetting he has to save the world. Meanwhile, in the high-tech gravity labs of New York City, lab workers Ron and his colleague break the fourth wall, complaining to the reader about the treatment of the characters. Naturally, they're interrupted by the bad guys, who want the gravity machine and instructions on how to operate it. They point a gun at Ron, who raises his hands in surrender, pleading for his life, hilariously saying he might have a family waiting for him at home. Back at the diner, Lobo's girlfriend Beverline arrives and is shocked to see Lobo in a compromising situation. Angrily, she literally kicks him out of the diner. Outside, Lobo dusts himself off and gets to work looking for clues about Kid Lee, a name muttered by a dying hero. Jonas Turnip, Gamarola, and Billy the Millie turn up. Turnip is just about to reveal the mysterious murderer's name when they're ambushed by his brother Daryl Rutabaga. As the siblings fight, Lobo seizes the opportunity and leaves with Gammarola and Billy. Berylene tracks him down to forgive him, and seeing him in a compromising position once more, beats him to a pulp. Talking to himself in a glass window, Lobo seems to threaten himself into remembering what actually happened. He uncovers the identity of the villain, the Gold Kidney Lady. She compares her deluded ambition to cleanse Earth to that of kidneys purifying the body. In a climactic battle against a formidable henchman and a Doomsday device, Lobo confronts the imminent threat. In a moment of desperate action, Lobo shoots at the Gold Kidney Lady, inadvertently causing her to stumble onto a lever that propels the moon on a collision course with Earth. Does Lobo survive? Does the Earth? Well, we'll never know. A star-spangled symbol. Set during World War II, Super Soldier arrives late to a party of the All-Star Winner Squadron as he was summoned by the US Army for a covert mission to track a cargo container with stolen government equipment that's being ferried across the Atlantic. With no time to even eat cake, Super Soldier flies away resolute in his duty towards the nation. He assumes his civilian persona of Clark Kent to meet his friend Jimmy Olsen at the docks for an undercover mission. They board the Navy vessel containing the smuggled cargo and are to follow it till they find out who's behind the operation. Lex Luther arrives, prompting Kent to turn away as she did when she got married to Lex Luther. The ship sets sail, and mid-voyage, Olsen and Kent get into a brawl with the other sailors. Sergeant Rock and his howling commandos come to their rescue, and a fight breaks out. Rock saves Kent from a flying chair and earns his respect. A few nights later, Olsen and Kent see a French soldier walking into the cargo hold, and Olsen jumps to the conclusion that he's the traitor. Turns out, he'd just lost his way, as he couldn't figure out the signs in English. After some time, danger strikes as their boats are headed towards an iceberg. Leaping, actually flying into action, Super Soldier effortlessly smashes the iceberg to pieces as the soldiers cry out a version of the iconic lines, "Look up there in the sky. Is it a bomber? Is it a shell? No. It's Super Soldier." Upon reaching England, the cargo is successfully delivered without incident. Kent has to leave Olsen alone for a while to grace a state event as Super Soldier. He meets with the Prime Minister Winston Churchill and realizes his longtime adversary Lex Luther is also invited. As they're heading to dinner, Super Soldier receives a distress call from Olsen. Super Soldier arrives just as Olsen is recuperating and is informed of the theft of the cargo container by Nazis. In his attempt to save the dock and Olsen from being blown up, Super Soldier loses the cargo. In a dramatic turn, Baron Zemo orchestrates a heist of the cargo container during the event. The Howling Commandos fall into enemy hands but are liberated by the Frenchman, revealed to be an underground resistance fighter disguised as an alluring redhead named Peggy. As they're making their escape, the war wheel is unleashed, sending them running. Peggy, putting herself in danger, tries to get help and is shot down by Zemo's men. She pretends to be dead and launches a grenade at them, making her escape. She makes a call to London, seeking Super Soldier's help. Minutes later, he arrives accompanied by Olsen, and with some help from Rock, Zemo's men are eliminated. Olsen finds Peggy, who gives them the location of the cargo and the blueprints for what they plan on doing with it. Super Soldier scans her vital signs and says she's in need of immediate medical assistance. Rock asks Super Soldier to help her as they can handle the rest. In the climactic conclusion, Luther's evil comes to light as he's manipulating Zemo. The cargo is revealed to be a spaceship containing a potent green rock that Luther plans on using to make Ultra Metallo. It's cheating death time. Time for a Fantastic Four amalgam with their DC inspiration, Challengers of the Unknown. In the Amalgam universe, the team comprising Ace Storm, Prof Richards, Red Storm and Rocky Grimm, much like the DC team, didn't gain powers in their freak accident in space but miraculously survived the crash. They decide to join forces as they huddle and decide to help humanity and confront extraordinary challenges, challenging death at every step. Red notices their huddled hands resemble an hourglass that becomes their emblem, symbolizing their living on borrowed time. Senator Grimm, while trying to broker peace between two warring African cities, is called to Fantastic Mountain, the underground base of the Cadmus Project and the headquarters of the Challengers of the Fantastic. While Prof is in the middle of discovering a new dimension, he's called to the briefing room by Ace. Meanwhile, Red, who's playing the Spider-Boy Total Bizarnage game, seems distracted as his miniature clone sits on his shoulder trying to hype him up. He's distracted by the thought of never seeing the only girl he ever loved, Dream Crystal. As Prof, Rocky and Red rush into the briefing room, they notice Sue's changed hairdo and are shocked at it. He warns them of the arrival of Galactica. This amalgamation of Galactus and Brainiac poses a grave danger, prompting the team to embark on a mission to thwart its nefarious plans. Along the way, they encounter the enigmatic Silver Racer, an amalgam of Silver Surfer and Black Racer from the Asgardian realm, warning them of impending doom again. Galactiac's sinister machinations unfold as he deploys a city-consuming machine. He plans to use it to shrink New York City and preserve and study it. Uatu whisks Johnny away to an undisclosed location, entrusting him with a pivotal role in averting catastrophe. Galactiac shoots Rocky and turns the Senator into a formidable four-armed entity resembling the iconic Thing from Marvel Comics. The team confronts Galactiac head-on. Amidst utter chaos as the challenges of the Fantastic fight one of their own, Johnny embarks on a mysterious endeavor within what appears to be an alternate dimension shrouded in ambiguity. Reed Richards, borrowing the formidable appendages of Dr. Octavius, engages in a formidable duel against the transformed Thing. Reed uses Rocky's Rocky appearance to tear down Galactiac's machine. The battle culminates in a blinding flash of light. It isn't really clear what happens, but Galactiac's defeated and, of course, promises revenge. It's revealed Johnny's mini-clone sacrificed himself and Silver Racer helped too. As the team wonders what happened to him, it's revealed that the sinister Dr. Doomsday seizes an opportunity, capturing the weakened Silver Racer and stealing his powers. He promises revenge on the challengers of the Fantastic for robbing him of his glory. X-Patrol doomed? Shatter Starfire and Niles Cable are fighting against a swarm of brood within the confines of a dark cave. Their struggle against the relentless onslaught of these formidable creatures becomes evident as Niles Cable uses his telepathic powers to propel her away from the cave to get help. Returning to the sanctity of the X-Patrol headquarters, Shatter Starfire is initially blamed for leaving Cable to the brood. As tensions run high to save their leader, Elastigirl calls for a plan of action rather than an ambush. This interaction not only serves to highlight the team dynamics, but also underscores the initial distrust towards Jericho, the newly recruited member of X-Patrol, with Elastigirl being the only one who believes him. Dial Husk reminds her teammates that their leader is in danger, and that they need to save him instead of fighting amongst themselves. Meanwhile, Cable finds himself imprisoned, the victim of a malevolent scheme that's left him implanted with a brood seed, a ticking time bomb of genetic assimilation. His solitude is interrupted by the appearance of Revenir, the Healer, a spectral entity with cryptic abilities. Revenir offers cryptic advice, hinting at a potential solution within Cable himself, a fragment of her essence residing within him, capable of purging the brood infestation. He has two options: releasing the fragment within him that'll make him susceptible to nanotech damage owing to the deadly technovirus ravaging his body, or letting the brood implant take him. It all comes down to which doom hurts his patrol the least. The X-Patrol descends on Zenosha to deal with the confrontation with the brood threat and save their leader. They're confronted by the brood, and a fight ensues, culminating in a showdown against Brother Brood, the mastermind behind the attack against mutants. It's revealed that Brother Brood intended to infect a mutant with the brood seed and unveils the dire consequences such an act would unleash, fueling future mutant persecutions. Terra X, a fusion of Terra and Terrax, emerges as a formidable enemy, but is swiftly subdued by the team's coordinated efforts. As Brother Brood possesses, Cable is forced to battle his own team. Brother Brood's evil intentions of using every living mutant to conquer the Earth is revealed as Cable faces a startling revelation of his own. Jericho's true identity is unveiled as a younger iteration of Cable from an alternate reality. Faced with the choice between self-preservation and sacrificing himself to thwart Brother Brood's plans, Cable opts for the latter, displaying his latent healing abilities to purge the Brood Queen within Brother Brood, sealing their fates. The aftermath sees Cable on the brink of succumbing to the technovirus, only to be miraculously healed by the return of Revenir. However, the true nature of Revenir's identity remains shrouded in mystery, hinted at being a guise adopted by Dial Husk. Yet another triumph for the X-Patrol, complete with a younger and older Cable now, the younger of whom is given the name X-Man. And I am Iron Lantern in deep space. Iron Lantern, aka Hal Stark, an amalgam of Iron Man and Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, delivers the notorious master villain Hector to a high-security prison cell on Oa, the living planet. As he descends on the planet's surface, he reflects on the vast mystery surrounding Oa as Hector is absorbed into the planet's prison levels below the surface. He goes to the central power battery to recharge, and in the emerald light, contemplates how much he doesn't know about Oa and the various other Lantern agents scattered across the cosmos, and his connection to the human Lantern from the World War II era. He pushes these thoughts aside as he has to promptly go back to Earth for a showdown at Stark Aircraft. At the Stark Aircraft plant outside Coast City, Stark is late for testing the experimental S-41 aircrafts. Pepper Ferris takes the wheel instead and requests clearance for takeoff. She effortlessly flies the aircraft in the air. As he's returning to Earth, Stark thinks back to the day his life changed forever. He was working on a stationary flight simulator when he lost control, and the device suddenly took off without him. He was drawn to a crashed alien spacecraft. His simulator crashed a few yards away from the alien spacecraft. Badly injured with metal shards sticking out of his chest, He dragged himself to the alien spaceship and found the corpse of the alien Roman Sir, with the little life left in him. He designed a suit of armor using the alien technology that was powered by the lantern-like battery he found in the wreckage, and Iron Lantern was born, and the world knew of him. He notices the S-41 aircraft has been sabotaged and rescues Pepper Ferris, getting both her and the expensive aircraft to safety back at Stark Aircraft. However, before investigating the sabotage, Stark and his allies find themselves obligated to attend a formal dinner hosted by a senator who happened to witness the aircraft incident. This senator, who also happens to be Pepper's father, vents his frustration during the dinner. Ferris has had enough when her father passes a sexist remark and leaves, walking into a forest. She comes across a mystical sapphire that she touches and is transformed into the persona of Madame Sapphire. Simultaneously, Kyle O'Brien secretly navigates the hangar bays in pursuit of Stark's power lantern. Driven by his desire to reclaim the Iron Lantern mantle permanently, O'Brien resolves to steal Stark's power source, even at the cost of Stark's life. Up above, Madame Sapphire awakens Great White, a colossal shark-shaped robot that was hidden beneath Stark Aircraft for reasons unexplained. Iron Lantern engages in a gravity-defying battle against the awakened Great White, resorting to hand-to-hand combat in the vast expanse of space. In a dramatic turn of events, just as Iron Lantern emerges victorious against Great White, O'Brien successfully extracts the power battery, leaving Stark plummeting back to Earth in a powerless descent. Seizing the moment, Madame Sapphire, having fulfilled her mysterious mission, impulsively kidnaps Senator Ferris, propelled by the shared animosity between her and Pepper. In a climactic twist, it's revealed that the orchestrator behind the intricate web of sabotage, Sapphire's awakening and O'Brien's betrayal, is none other than Mandarin-Sinestro, an amalgam of Mandarin and Sinestro, probably the most powerful amalgamated villain. Family sticks together. Magneto rebuilds his family, the Magnetic Men, after they're destroyed by the impossible Mod. He upgrades them, almost killing himself in the process, as the Magnetic Men re-emerge with new metal bodies. After they're revived, Nichols says that they shouldn't have to obey their master Magneto anymore, since they're now sentient. The rest of the Magnetic Men argue their purpose is to help Magneto in the war against his brother, before Magneto interrupts and tells them he's disbanding the team. Shocked, the Magnetic Men plead with Magneto to change his mind, but he's adamant, as he promises to never send living and sentient beings into battle again, as he can't have the blood of another team on his hands again. He gives them a new purpose to live out their lives. He asks Mr. Mastermind to use his power of illusion to make the team of robots appear human. They're handed their individual human identities corresponding to their distinct personalities. Magneto forces them out and turns his attention to confronting Will Magnus alone. He plans on using the Insectobots that were retrieved by martyred mutants to track him down. The Magnetic Men in their human form are in London and are trying to adjust to their new lives. As expected, they're almost instantly attacked by the Sinister Society, a group of evil robots. They're easily able to subdue and capture the Magnetic Men. At the same time, Magneto arrives in Krakoa, the living dinosaur island where Will Magnus's lair is located. Just as he's about to confront his brother, the magnetometer beacon goes off, signaling that the Magnetic Men are in danger. He turns around and leaves to help his Magnetic Men. Turns out, the Sinister Society was created by Will Magnus, and this group of robots, unlike their enemies, wish for human bodies and shit at normalcy. As the Magnetic Men are about to be cut open, Magneto makes his entry and revives them with a magnetic blast. The Sinister Society assembles to fight the Magnetic Men again, resolving to defeat them once more. Iron reminds them that they're not alone, and are now Magneto and the Magnetic Men. As they fight, the Sinister Society realizes that the Magnetic Men are much stronger now, fueled by Magneto's magnetism. They soon realize they can't win. Before Magneto decides their fate, he asks them why they targeted his Magnetic Men. Quasimodox, one of the members of the Sinister Society, begs for mercy as he tells Magneto they just wanted to live normal lives, or at the very least, punish Dr. Will Magnus for imprisoning them in robot bodies. The two teams decide to join forces against their common enemy. They fly to Krakoa Island again and realize Will Magnus has relocated, leaving behind his Insectobots to devour the island and cover his tracks. As all seems to be lost, Magneto inspires his new team to continue on in their mission of protecting the lives of all oppressed beings, be it human, mutant, or robot. Spider-Boy's Hot Tub Time Machine Adventures. In New York, Spider-Boy is fighting Scavulture, an amalgam of Marvel Comics Vulture and DC Scavenger, who uses his laser psionic eye to sever Spider-Boy's webbing. He falls into a dumpster on Suicide Street, losing his web-shooting gun. He frantically searches for it as the Yancey Legion arrives, their newest member running away with Spider-Boy's web shooter. As he chases after him, Spider-Boy is ambushed by Skavulture. As he falls, Spider-Boy wishes he had a spidey sense like his Marvel counterpart to sense imminent danger. In an unexpected twist, Spider-Boy is frozen in a cube as time stands still. Meanwhile, Rex Leach, Spider-Boy's manager, is planning the wedding of the century. He looks out the window, noticing a silver figure on skis fly by. As Dr. Octavius and Betty Brant look on, the Silver Racer introduces himself, knocking out the humans as he wants to witness the death of a hero. Spider-Boy is transported to the future, 2099 to be exact. Impressed by their base of operations, he asks who their leader is. He's introduced to the roster of the Legion of Galactic Guardians 2099, from which they'll choose their leader. Spider-Boy gets his moment in the spotlight as he's told he was the inspiration behind the creation of the Legion. His moment's short-lived, 9 minutes and 12 seconds to be exact, as he has to return to his original timeline. He wonders aloud why he was made aware of his future. Retrocausality, the phenomenon of knowing the effect before the cause, and realizes he's going to die in his original timeline. On cue, the Frightful Five attack and destroy the Times Square generator that brought Spider-Boy back to the future. As the Legion fights the Frightful Five, Spider-Boy is approached by a mysterious man in a cloak with another Times Square offering him the chance to live. Spider-Boy leaps into the square, thinking the worst is behind him. He's transported another 5 years into the future. He meets the Legion again, who are now mere husks of their youthful and excited selves in 2099. The future is awful, but also very rainy. Or, should I say, rainy. Spider-Boy decides to go back to 2099 and then his original timeline to face his own death. Back in 2099, Spider-Boy meets a smaller and different Legion and isn't called to be praised, but because they need help with equipment from his time. After helping them, he's transported to his original timeline in 1997 and manages to block Skavulture's attack. Seeing Spider-Boy needs help, the Yancey Legion member who took his web gun tries to help and is immediately knocked out. The Yancey Legion reveal themselves to be members of the Legion that capture Skavulture and hand Spider-Boy an anti-gravity ring that gives him the power to fly. They fly to Fantastic Mountain and send the injured boy to the Phantom Negative Zone. Time freezes again as Spider-Boy is confronted by the cloaked figure, who reveals himself as Kang, the Time Conqueror. Kang takes Spider-Boy to Limbo and reveals he wants to use him to conquer the Omniverse by separating his amalgamated personalities. Another Time Square appears with a mysterious boy leaping out of it with seemingly the same powers as Spider-Boy. Spider-Man and Superboy re-emerge, and Superboy joins the mysterious boy in defeating Kang. They unmask him, revealing he's Kronos Tut-Tut, the Time Pharaoh, and his mask goes haywire, causing a big explosion. Spider-Boy and the new kid go back to when Spider-Boy was kidnapped by Kang. The new kid is revealed to be Spider-Boy 2099, and that Spider-Boy created a cure for the young man he put in stasis in the Phantom Zone. The Legion bid him farewell as Spider-Boy contemplates his future. The new God of Thunder. Smack dab in the middle of Ragnarok of the old gods, the Legion of Thanoside breach the chambers of Odin the Highfather and All-Wise. Prepared for this, Odin awakens Thorion the Hunter using a power source. The new order begins as he fights Thanoside's Legion, ending Ragnarok. He uses the Astro Force to free 3 abducted creatures from Thanoside, a tyrant seeking domination. Thanoside, furious with this interference, bestows upon his servant Locke Desard a potent artifact, the Mother Cube, with the intention of using it to kill Desard's half-brother, Thorion. Meanwhile, in the celestial realm of Asgard, Odin, the wise Allfather, forewarns Thorion of an impending Armageddon, a dire threat looming on the horizon. In a dramatic turn of events, Locke materializes before the mighty Promethean giants Ymir of the Frozen Wastes, Surtur, Lord of all things infernal, Kalibak, the thrice-damned, and Mangog, also called Dark Harbinger. They're ancient beings who embody the elemental forces of Ragnarok, and Locke plans on awakening them using the power of the Mother Cube to fulfill Ragnarok that was earlier stopped by Thorion. Thorion also arrives, although the circumstances of his arrival remain a mystery, whether guided by Odin's unseen hand or summoned by Locke wielding the Mother Cube. A confronted Locke says he planned on bringing about the end day the day Highfather Odin gave his son up to Thanoside in exchange for the hammer of the old gods that he used to awaken Thorion. Thorion corrects him, saying that the barter was made to help broker a peace treaty between Apocalypse and New Asgard. As tensions escalate, Locke awakens the Promethean giants of destruction. Yet, Thorion, resolute and defiant, raises his enchanted hammer, boldly declaring his ability to contain the dark forces unleashed by the giants' overwhelming powers. Locke releases the ultimate power of the Mother Cube, causing an explosion and proclaiming he's performing a purge. It's unclear as to what actually happened as Thorion's hammer lies on the ground. In the aftermath, Odin ponders the events. Both the twin realms of Apocalypse and New Asgard were denied Thorion, and his sacrifice honored, mourned, and cursed. The blast of energy from the Mother Cube lit up the realms for days. Notably, Thwarting transcended mortal limitations, ascending to a celestial status, and was called Celestial from then on. The aftermath. Dark Claw is fighting Hyena. He's joined by Super Soldier, who thwarts his attacks on the innocent bystanders. As they fight, unaware of the truth, the old Guardian, Access's mentor, realizes he's wrong. He thought the brothers had created the merged Amalgam universe, but that was far from the truth. A winner did emerge from the war between the two universes, and while the other universe was on the brink of being wiped away, the Cosmic Guardians, the Living Tribunal and the Spectre created the Amalgam universe and are holding it together. The brothers are obviously unhappy with this. As Dark Claw and Super Soldier close in on the Hyena, Access meets his mentor, who leaves him to finish the job. Access confronts the superheroes and reveals that he's come to retrieve the hidden shards of the two original universes that he implanted inside Dark Claw and Super Soldier. Assisted by the cosmic entities Spectre and Living Tribunal, he carefully gathered these fragments, each a crucial piece of the original universes that had been merged to create the Amalgam universe. The Amalgam universe is blown apart as quickly as it came into existence, with the individual heroes coming back. Even as Access successfully separated the universes, remnants of their fusion still existed, creating a delicate overlap that defied easy separation. The Cosmic Brothers, personifications of the Marvel and DC universes, unleash their anger as the Tribunal and Spectre look on in awe. In the face of this impending annihilation, Access finds himself in the presence of Batman and Captain America. United by a common cause, they decide to put a stop to the destruction unleashed by the cosmic siblings. The individual heroes now came together in the new universe, helping each other with their own personal battles instead of fighting each other. Superboy helps Spider-Man take on Wilson Fisk. Wonder Woman hands Thor his hammer. The final battle was a spectacle of cosmic proportions. Heroes and gods clashed, their power shaking the very foundations of reality. In a heart-wrenching turn, Batman and Captain America fell, their valiant efforts not enough to sway the cosmic scales in their favor. As the brothers stood victorious, poised to deliver the final blow that had shattered the remnants of their creations, something extraordinary transpired. In a moment of clarity, as they glimpsed the intricate histories of Batman and Captain America, they were struck by a profound realization. The essence of these heroes, their unwavering courage and unyielding spirit in the face of insurmountable odds, resonated deeply within the cosmic beings. Moved by this revelation, the brothers paused, their conflict momentarily forgotten in the wake of newfound understanding. They saw the beauty and resilience of their creations reflected in the heroes they just killed. In that fleeting moment of introspection, they made a choice that defied cosmic conventions. They chose to end their conflict. With a mutual understanding born from shared respect, the brothers restored balance to the fractured universes. The cataclysmic aftermath of the battle was undone, and peace was restored, albeit with the scars of their conflict serving as a reminder of the fragile balance that governed existence. Yet, for Access, the aftermath of this cosmic upheaval bore a weighty realization. The knowledge he'd gained, the truths that had been revealed, threatened to overwhelm his very being. In a moment of introspection, he made a poignant decision to relinquish his grasp on understanding, to embrace once more the mysteries of the unknown. With a resolute heart and an insatiable curiosity, Access embarked on a new journey, venturing into uncharted realms of the multiverse. His quest for knowledge and understanding remained unabated, a testament to the enduring spirit of exploration that defined him. And so, the cosmic dance of creation and discovery continued, as heroes and cosmic beings alike forged new paths in the ever-expanding tapestry of existence. Marvelous verdict. The Amalgam Comics were a novel idea and are still remembered fondly by comic book lovers. In the present continuity, while DC acknowledges the existence of this universe, the Marvel Universe has yet to catch up. Nevertheless, it was a treat for comic book fans to explore the various what-if scenarios of their favorite characters. If not anything else, the Amalgam Universe cracked the code of time travel, flawlessly executing it without the use of a lot of scientific jargon.